Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever.
Heidi-ho, neighborino. How you doing?
You look just like Wilson from good old Home Improvement. If you don't know what that is, we're making it's like a 90s sitcom joke, Joe.
Tim Allen, man. Come on.
Anywho, Joe's going to give you some wisdom, and later on I'm going to butcher it completely. You know, like you'd say, like, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Later on, I would say, like, two birds in a bush are better than a hand. You know, like, that's how the gag...
Well, Jimmy, oftentimes the best way to go about things is to kill two birds with one stone.
And then later on, I would tell my wife in the show that sometimes killing birds with stones is the best way to go forward in life. Like, you would completely butcher it. They'd be like, I'm going to go work on my hot rod. And then he just kind of... Yes. Joe, how are you this morning?
All right. I am doing pretty darn okay. Busy, but doing well. How about
Joe,
yourself?
I can't see your chest, Joe. It's blending in with your surroundings.
Floating arms. Ooh.
Stop that black magic. We have fun here. Anyway, if this is your first time joining us, we don't just talk about 90s sitcoms and camo shirts. We talk about games, television shows, movies, and cookbooks, and all the things that we love so very, very much. But thank you to everybody who's returning for the second or 74th time or whatever it is. So, yeah, Joe, we've got a lot to talk about, but I know that you had something you wanted to start the show with. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take the helm for a few seconds. It's hard to let go. I've done it once before, but all right.
All right, we're going to do a little animal quiz. Dun, dun, dun.
It's always so nerve-wracking. I'm on the other end of this. If you guys remember, we used to do this segment a lot.
Yeah, how does it feel? You're in the hot seat.
Feels good. Feels good, Joe, to be here. Feels nice.
No, Jimmy. Two birds. This question will not be bird-related. Hint, hint. All right.
We've narrowed it down.
Your first clue.
Okay.
There are nearly 3,000 known species of this animal on Earth. Now, I know that's not a lot to go on.
Yep.
So I will give you this. It is an aquatic animal.
Okay.
Okay. Nothing else? You're not even honing in on anything yet?
I think I am. I didn't know if you had like a third or if that's all you're giving me for now. Do you want me to take a guess?
Really? You're honing in on something already, huh?
Maybe. I don't know. I could be completely off. I don't think this many.
Give me a hint on what you're looking at.
I would guess you said 3,000 different like species of this one thing.
3,000 different known species of this one aquatic creature.
Oh. I want to say sharks, but that seems like a lot.
I figured you would go that way. I know there are a lot of species of shark, but I don't think there's 3,000.
Probably not. I just know that we kill like 100 million every year, like humans do. So that makes me feel really bad. I'm like, how is there that many sharks? Like, then I'm like, oh man. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, keep going. I need another hint, please. Joe's just depressed now about the sharks.
Yeah. that shark fin soup, huh? Delicious.
No, God, we do not support that.
I'm kidding. I love sharks. I think they're pretty awesome. So anywho, have a carnivorous diet. Some of them, they can't. Some of the species, individual species, can be considered omnivorous, but mostly all species are mostly carnivorous.
Okay, so we've got a creature.
Freshwater. Here, I'll give you that. Freshwater.
Oh man, this is a fishing thing, isn't it? Is this like a perch thing?
3,000 different species of perch.
I don't know, or bass. Let's see if it's freshwater and it's marine. Maybe I'm thinking fish, and I should be thinking mammal.
I don't know.
Joseph,
They're very good swimmers, and they don't have to come up for air.
They never have to come up for air?
Never have to come up for air.
All right, well, hippos are out. That'd be amazing. 3,000 different species of hippos. They're like that we know about.
The African giant hippo, the African red-bottomed hippo, the African pink-belly hippo, the African blue-nose hippo.
Mm-hmm. Classics in their own right. Okay.
I can tell we might drag this out for a good 5 minutes, so I'm going to crack open a nice ice cold can of the dry ginger ale.
Before we started,
refreshing.
He said this. He said this will be simple, and I knew in my mind right then and there it wouldn't be.
That's because I'm making it hard on you. I could give you a couple.
So we got it's a freshwater dwelling animal that never has to come up for air, and there's a bunch of different kinds of them.
Yes.
And they're carnivores, but could be considered omnivorous. Some of them.
They're basically found worldwide, but mostly in warm, fresh water. We have them in North America. These are not some sort of specifically tropical fish, although some of the species. Oh.
Whoops. No, good.
I said fish. Oh, God.
We've narrowed it down. Oh, my gosh.
Some of them have known to be, are tropical or Amazonian or in India.
Joe, stop playing coy with me. Sorry, that's a horrible joke.
That's a Japanese thing though.
Yep.
So
I tried though. Okay. So I said perch and bass. Is it like one of that type, of a general name for a bunch of different fish that I'm trying to get to here? Because I don't like fish at all. So it's hard for me. I'm like, I don't care.
If I lived in Louisiana and I wanted some good Cajun food, I'd have this with maybe some fries.
Catfish?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything about whiskers or any of that.
Okay, catfish.
I didn't realize they're
I guess they are worldwide, yeah. And then I think of going catfish and putting your arm down the thing's gullet.
Noodling?
A noodling, that's what it is. Sorry. Isn't catfishing some sort of internet predator term? I don't know. It's catfish, yeah. That's horrible. Okay, catfish. I did it. So simple, so easy. Catfish are actually pretty cool. Just the look of them, kind of this monster vibe a little bit, but yeah. I don't really know about catfish.
The largest species of catfish is the Mekong catfish, which is found inhabiting parts of the Mekong River that flows through Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam.
The Mekong, I think, is it?
Mekong, yeah, sure. That's how us Americans pronounce it.
See, Joe,
anyway.
I would have never gotten catfish because it's the two things that I care about the least, cats and fish. You put it into one creature, and I'm just checking out. I mean, dogfish, I'm there. I'm there with dressed to the nines, but standing on the side of a river, just looking real nice. Be like, man, that's where the dogfish are.
Dogfish is a type of shark, I believe.
Oh, see? I'm all about that, though, but still fish.
Also known it's called the spiny dogfish, spur dog, mud shark, and piked dogfish. One of the best-known species of the Squalidae, that's a scientific name, family of sharks, which is part of the Squaliforme order. That was more than I needed to know.
Nudibranch, something like that. There's some shark in there. Sharks are cool. I love sharks. Which shameless plug, if you're I started thinking about all these sharks and things like that. And I'm like, Game Sharks, that other show I do. Game Sharks. I was thinking we should all get shirts on that podcast, and we'd all be a great white shark or a hammerhead or a mako shark. I like those too. But if you ever want to see just a video game pure podcast we do for local television station, then that's what I host. But anyway, we talk about video games on there. We talk about video games on here, but we talk about other things besides sharks. We're moving on because I talk about animals all day if I could. Joe, we've got some news before we get into the rest of the show. We got some news I want to talk about with you. First off, we're going to start with some news that it's not the biggest deal, and then we'll work into something that you for sure will you will lose your mind over, because I'll say one word and I will definitely get a gasp. You'll go but anyway, Avengers 4 started production yesterday or today or just really recently. Nothing really to say about that. But I was thinking about this because it's kind of interesting because we've been getting a lot of information about Joss Whedon's involvement in Justice League. And apparently there's some new rumors that have cropped up saying that he kind of went in, he's gone there to lighten the mood, apparently, of Justice League and also kind of rework Cyborg because apparently Cyborg was really, really, really bland and not interesting. And it was a very big concern of Joss's and I think everybody else that he wasn't going to be cool. And I think of Cyborg in two camps. I think of Cyborg back in Teen Titans. He's kind of this charismatic guy who's always going, booyah, and doing all this. But then in like Injustice and then in like the other animated films that DC's been doing, he's kind of been relegated to this kind of boring support, monotone, like doesn't care type of character. But I just want to know what you thought of, I mean, you're not surprised that Joss is kind of like making things lighter in tone by any stretch, are you?
No, I'm not. Looking back at Avengers when he was on board with them, he has a good way of making it feel realistic through humor. You know what I mean? Like in certain situations, somebody's going to have a little humor to add to a situation. Like we all do it. We all have some sarcastic little blurb that we'll throw in a serious situation, you know, that sort of deal. So I like how he really fleshed out humanity in each character. You know what I mean? It wasn't all just straight serious business all the time and dread and action. He really mixed in the qualities of humanity that we typically see with people in real life, you know, which I enjoyed, which makes something of that nature more believable. So if he can do that with Justice League, because I want it to be believable. I want to be able to relate to them and realize that they're real people and not just, you know, superhuman superpowers.
Well, like half of them are gods, so it might be tough. But that's okay. Wonder Woman proved that Diana can be relatable to some degree, and she's great.
Yeah.
Also, there's a really good chance that they may or may not have dropped Darkseid from this film. Apparently, he was going to step out of a boom tube, like at the end of the film. People are not sure if that's actually going to happen anymore. So,
well, I'm out.
I was going to say, Joe may or may not have just lost a point from our Trailer Master show, which you should definitely check out. Who knows? We don't know yet. That could still not be true. Joe's just going to lose his mind. There you go. I was like, Joe, you got to say something. You know? Another thing I wanted to talk about, we're going to get back to Superman in just a moment, Joe, but there's one other piece of news that we got out of the upcoming Godzilla film, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Apparently, there is an image of the Oxygen Destroyer. Now, this was a device used in the 1954 Godzilla film where I think it's Kurosawa, the same name that they're using for Ken Watanabe's character, he made this thing and that killed Godzilla in that original film. Now, there's a chance that this device will be made potentially by him again or somebody else, but will be used to either take down Godzilla or, more likely, potentially some of the other monsters they're dealing with. And the reason I think that is because they're kind of painting Godzilla more of an anti-hero this time around. It showed, like, in that movie, the first one, if you haven't seen it, he's kind of like, oh, you should let, you know, Godzilla fight the Mutos or whatever. Like, let him do that. So my question is, why would Godzilla be a bad guy now? So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Oxygen Destroyer be used on King Ghidorah or Rodan or maybe even Mothra, depending. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing. I want to know, Joe, what you thought about just like the device of like the Oxygen Destroyer. Basically, it's supposed to rip the oxygen out of any body of water, and that's how they killed Godzilla, like in the first, like way back in the day. I don't know. Do you like that? Like the humans having a weapon that could take out one of these things?
So they take the oxygen out of the water so Godzilla can't breathe through his gills?
Maybe. Or like out of Godzilla himself. Maybe that's how they killed him. Like he was in the water and they put it in there and they just kind of like ripped it all out. And he was like, oh, I can't breathe. Or something like that. I don't know what that would really do to the like water molecules. Like if it would just turn it all to hydrogen and then just like blow it all up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Or does it make all the sense? No, I don't think it does.
Oh,
he's like, no, it doesn't. But what do you think about that? I know you were kind of angry about that in the first Godzilla film, is that they were like we were shooting missiles at them and they weren't doing anything. Do you like that the humans could have an item or a weapon that they could use to combat these things now, as opposed to just saying, let them fight, don't worry about it, you know?
I don't understand why we even need some special scientifically debunked machine to pull oxygen out of everything.
Because it's cool.
Because
it's cool.
Godzilla is just a big towering pile of meat and flesh. He's a giant meat sack with bones in there somewhere.
He's armored. He can take a nuclear blast. Remember the Bikini Island tests? They blew him up and they couldn't do it. They're like, we can't kill him.
That was his brother.
No, it wasn't. It was him. I guess our bombs are much stronger than they were back in the like the 50s and the 40s and stuff like that. But still,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't mind them kind of implementing some sort of kind of crazy sci-fi device into all of that.
It's all right. I don't know what more to say about it. I'd like them to at least, how does it actually work, or what's it going to do to them? Like you just said, if they're going to rip oxygen out of everything and they just implode it next to him swimming or something. What happens to the water?
So what I'm thinking is, as a person with a scientific background, that you rip all the oxygen out, just a ton of hydrogen, and then you just flick a match. I think it'll just be Ken Watanabe just flicking a match, and then it'll just explode behind him like the entire Pacific Ocean.
Lighting a cigar.
Yeah, just... He's like, man becomes God, and then he just blows everything up. Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. But... talking about gods and things like that, Joe, flawless transition. Some interesting news came out of the one and only mouth of the Tom Welling, the one and only, about the finale to Smallville, which I thought you'd be kind of interested in. I do have a timer here, though, just in case.
I already read all this, Jimmy. I'm way ahead of you.
Okay, well, I still wanted to talk about it because, that's what friends do on a podcast. So Tom Welling came out talking about the finale of Smallville, and he said, talking about not rushing to get Clark into the suit of Superman to be Superman. So he said this to EW. He said, it was something that we discussed before we ever shot the pilot with the creators. We literally had a sit down where we talked about the show, and I asked about the suit and the tights and the flying, and they said, no, absolutely not. Part of the reason being is that the show is about a teenager trying to figure out who he is. I felt that once Clark put on the cape and the suit, life became too easy in a sense. They wanted to focus on who the character was before that, and at the time, because of the visual effects and special effects and the stunts it would be too expensive. That's mainly why they save it for the movies, more or less. And then he kind of continues talking about the rest of that and why they didn't, move into that too quickly. But Joe, I just wanted to give you a moment to comment on that. I'm going to just make sure that we don't run over time here, but please say what you need to. You're way too giddy about this.
Yeah, I read all that. I like Tom. I like Tom Welling. So it seems to me like it was the right direction for that show. It was all about where Superman began and how he became Superman, not what he was like as Superman in his first year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know that there's much more to say on it. The focus was on him growing up, not on him, putting out fires in Metropolis and flying around skyscrapers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's true. And I was listening to somebody else talk about this, and I think they made a really good point. I don't think Smallville, in its conception, was supposed to run as long as it did or be as popular as it was, because later on in the seasons you start to see other characters like Green Arrow and Aquaman and these like fleshed out heroes, when like Superman is still not fleshed out or made yet. Like the Flash is even kind of present in some of this stuff, so it's kind of weird to have like everybody else and all these villains be made and then just have like him still just being like, I'm playing catch up, guys. But I think that was one of the reasons why it seems like a Superman show, even though he's not technically Superman.
Yeah, he hasn't been given that title yet. The only one who I felt was really fleshed out was Green Arrow. Yeah,
Definitely. It was much lighter and funnier than he is nowadays, for sure, by the way. Like that, if you want to see two different Green Arrows, go watch Arrow on CW and then go watch like an episode of Smallville with the Green Arrow in it. completely different guy. So that was the one I was used to before Arrow kind of started, and I watched it with Joe, and I was like, wow, this Arrow is a lot different than the Smallville Arrow. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he had his serious moments. He wasn't always happy and giddy or anything of that nature. But yeah, definitely a bit of a night and day difference, or a dawn and night difference, or dusk and night difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Night and day is probably good.
No, that's too different.
It's too different. I can't take it. Except when Clark's in a black trench coat, and it's like, is he dawn or is he night or day or what is he now? I don't know.
All right, now we're getting totally off base. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. Yeah, I don't know. There were parts of that show that were a little corny and cheesy, but I mean, it is what it is, and I think there was a nostalgia factor with that whole show, regardless of who you are. But it didn't take itself too seriously to where it was, it wasn't like going to see Justice League or Batman versus Superman. It's not quite on that scale. So I enjoyed it more than I probably enjoy some of these newer shows that they're coming out with.
Sure. Yeah. Plus, I think they handled some things better just because it was a longer running franchise. One of the ones that I can think of is the, spoiler alert, death of Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Kent, back in like one of the oldest Supermans too, he like has a heart attack, and it's really cool in the fact that Superman is so powerful. He's so strong. He can do everything basically, but he can't save his dad in that circumstance. That's the problem I have with Man of Steel, because like there's this tornado and he could easily save him, but his dad's like keep your secret, like who's gonna know, it's a everyone's under an overpass, which by the way you shouldn't do in a tornado because it'll just suck you out, but it like it was just like in the show when he went, it's just like there's nothing he could have done. He's like, I don't know what to do. So I just think isn't that how it went down in Smallville, right? I'm correct there? Okay.
Yeah, he had the heart attack because of his stress of dealing with Lionel Luthor, I think.
Yep. Lionel. Oh, yeah. Lionel. Good times. Good times. But anyway, I just want to touch on that because I saw that and I was like, oh,
Jonathan Glover.
He would love to talk about Smallville's finale and all of that stuff. So, yeah, kind of interesting. I wonder if there was like any amount of time that had to pass before he could kind of talk freely about that sort of thing, or if someone just brought it up and he was like, yeah, sure, we could talk about it. So, yeah, good for Tom. He'll always be known for that. Speaking of superheroes, Joe, we did some ranking last week. We talked about our favorite 3 villains, kind of superhero villains or I should say just super villains and other villains from fiction. But this week, because Defenders is coming out this weekend, which I'm really excited about, so wait, there'll be a review on that, but it's like 8 episodes long. But I was thinking, like, instead of saying let's pick our top 3 favorite Defenders characters, because there's really kind of like 4 Defenders, we could kind of go to like the to like their love interests and stuff like that. Why not talk about our 3 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe characters of all time? And that's both the heroes and the villains, because I don't want to shoehorn us too much. One day maybe we'll get down to the nitty gritty and be like, all right, it's this and this and this. But anyway, I want to talk about our 3 favorite MCU characters. Joe, are you ready?
We're going in reverse from 3 to 1, right? The worst to the best. Like,
yes, sir.
I shouldn't say worst because they made the top 3, but
I would love you just to be handing out medals at the Olympics, and you hand like the bronze one up. You're like, you suck, and they're like, I'm the 3rd best in the world at this, and you're like,
congratulations, you're the worst.
You're walking by everyone else who lost. And you're like, these guys are pretty good. They're like,
congratulations, you're the 2nd worst.
Yes. The silver medalist. The person's like, I was like a half second behind him, and they're like, you're like, not today. You're not a hero today. I'm just kidding. All the Olympic medalists and athletes in general, good on you. Good for you. Anyway, yes, we're going from our bronze and then to silver and to gold, or 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Anyway, Joe, do you want to kick us off? Do you have a 3rd favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe character you'd like to discuss?
I do not, Jimmy.
All right. That would be so great. Do you have a 2nd? Is it a 1st? Do you have any? No.
None.
Do you have anything you'd savor yourself in front of the court? No, I'm just kidding. That's what it felt like. I was not trying to put you on blast there, but
I think you should lead us into this one. Being you're more familiar, I think I got I got to look at a bit of a roster and gather my thoughts, to be honest.
Okay, well, all right, that's fine. I thought I prepped him. I always do. Anyway, my third is Spider-Man. Oh my God, what are you, Jimmy? You must be crazy. Spider-Man's only been in like 2 films. Well, guess what? I really do. I love Spider-Man, and I really think that this incarnation of him, Tom Holland's take on both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, is kind of the quintessential version of that character for me. It kind of mixes both the parts of Tobey Maguire's performance and Andrew Garfield's performances all together and puts it in this perfect package. And it also does so in a very young man's feel and style too, because he's like only 15 years old or 16 or whatever it is. And both of our protagonists, our other Spider-Men, with Toby, he started off maybe like 17, 18 and then goes right into college. And then Andrew Garfield's character always felt like he was like a 30-year-old hanging out of high school. So this one, like, he truly looks and feels like he belongs at a high school, and he does a really good job of kind of mixing in some of the jokes. It doesn't feel overly forced, and there's a lot of really good, true, like, real life moments that he has to face. Like one of them talked about, like, him at the golf course, he doesn't have anything to swing off of, or him, webbing a guy to a car who looks like he's trying to steal it, but the guy's like, "This is my car." It's like a lot of that stuff would happen, or just a guy pointing at him and saying like, "Hey, you're Spider-Man," and he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Do a flip," and he's like, "There you go," and he's like, "Cool," and like that's what would happen in the real world. And I love this take of Spider-Man, and I love how he plays off of Iron Man, and I'm really interested to see more of that Civil War kind of like banter where he's talking to people, he's like, "You have the right to remain silent," like he's fighting with Falcon and he's trying to arrest him or whatever. And just kind of seeing this naivete with a superhero, a very powerful superhero, and just bringing them into this kind of like problematic world. And he's like, "I'm just trying to help everybody," So I just love Spider-Man, just your everyman hero. But yeah, that's number 3. Joe, what do you think of Spider-Man?
I like him. I especially like the new Spider-Man Homecoming character. Well, I suppose he's the only choice. Well, yes. No, he was in Civil War.
Yeah,
but no, I really enjoyed him in this one. I love the action or the banter between him and the suit. I think that was really cool. I enjoyed it. But just overall, I enjoy him. I think the MCU, along with their partnership with Sony, I think they're doing a good job in bringing him back from the brink of extinction, so to speak.
For sure, yeah. Well, they've had a lot of problems with that, which sucks because he is like one of the most iconic heroes ever, and it's so weird to think that he's had issues kind of after Spider-Man 3, and they kind of went kind of quickly into the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. And I think that's where you get a lot of problems, is when you kind of try to rush it and do something completely different instead of trying to capture what made the Raimi trilogy so good. And I think that's kind of what this one's trying to do its own thing, but also try to do some other cool things. Which, by the way, I heard some really disparaging remarks from Kirsten Dunst, who played MJ back in the original trilogy. She apparently not a fan of the new Spider-Man stuff, but that's okay.
Really?
Yeah, you had your shot, MJ. I was like, okay, why would you? I don't know why you trash on that, but apparently she might also not be the easiest person to work with. I don't know. I've never worked with her or met her, but I know she's a fan of the show. I don't want her to unsubscribe to us, but thanks for watching, Kirsten? I don't know. Anyway, Joe, give us your bronze medal winner. I know you were just playing coy with me before. Again, fish joke. You have your 3rd place. Let's hear it. Come on. Lay it on me. I can take it.
All right. Ghost Rider.
We talked about it. He has to be in the MCU, Joe. He has to be. He's not in the MCU. It's funny because beforehand I was like...
Yeah, I think MCU has their fingers in this whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing on ABC. Okay,
so do you want to go with that version of Ghost Rider? We can. I was gonna say we can technically, if you want to use that one. Have you've seen a little bit of him in this new one, because it's not like the true Johnny Blaze one. This is Gabriel Reyes or whatever.
Either way, whatever. A guy in a leather jacket and boots that rides a motorcycle or drives a freaking badass car, and his head turns into a skull and goes on fire. I'm down with that.
I'm sorry, it was Robbie Reyes. Gabriel Reyes is his brother. Also, Gabriel Reyes is the name of Reaper, which always got me confused because there's 2 Gabriel Reyes now that I know. I'm like,
horribly confusing. Yeah, anywho, the one on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whatever, and the one that they'll, for sure bring into the MCU in the future for the big screen. Because they gotta.
What if they don't, though, Joe? You have to love the
Then
character.
somebody will pay.
Somebody? What do you mean somebody will pay? Like, you're just, like, calling up Kevin Feige. He's like, put him in. Put him in. You don't even say who you are.
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
You'd be the most terrifying Ghost Rider.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You're too tall, man. You'd be too scary.
I would just walk in and be like, guilty. Everybody, just everybody
walks into the helicarrier and just they're all looking at you, and you're not even in the Ghost Rider format. You start turning into just guilty.
My evil laugh.
Some guy, like one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, pulls like a stapler out of a backpack and puts it on the table, and then you turn to him and you're like, repent. Guy's like, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, Ghost Rider's really cool, man. He's just like a really powerful character. I was reading some comics about like this background comic today of when he attacked Angel from X-Men, but then he also fought Thor, Captain America, some lady named Tigra, who's like an Avenger. He fought like all of them, which was really cool. And did I say Iron Man too? Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. And it was really, he like basically knocks out Captain America, Tigra, and Iron Man really quickly. He jumps on Iron Man mid-flight and puts a hand on his face. And he sends Hellfire through the eye sockets and like the mouth guard. And so like Iron Man drops to the ground. He's like, it's like Hellfire. Like the worst type of fire is on your face. And then he gets
Sounds like something I do.
He gets on his motorcycle, and Thor throws Mjolnir at him. He catches up, like he outruns Mjolnir, and then he turns around when Mjolnir's going back to Thor, and he like grabs it and rides with it into Thor. And like right as it goes to Thor, he kicks up his motorcycle and slams Thor with like the Hellfire wheels of his motorcycle. I was like, that would be incredible on film. Like, I'd pay like $20 for that 30-second sequence. I'd be like,
I probably would. That would be awesome. Oh man, I want some art done. We should have some art done.
If
a Ghost Rider melting through the helmet of Iron Man.
That'd be sick. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just like leaning over him and pushing his head into the concrete or something and melting through the side of it.
Dude, yeah.
Oh, that's dark.
Also, you made a good point about saying like everyone's guilty. I think a Ghost Rider would have a hard time being kind of on the team at all, because you'd look at Iron Man, you'd be like, well, he's guilty for a lot of things. You look at Black Widow, she's guilty for a lot of things. Even technically, kind of like Cap is guilty for some things. Hulk for sure. Like a Ghost Rider would be like, why am I working with any of you? You're all like bad people. Like, he's like, I should judge all of you. So, but yeah, Ghost Rider's sick, man. Ghost Rider's sick.
Yeah, very cool. And I hope that I didn't introduce a rule, and I don't know. I know we talked about it, but
you break all my rules.
I was reading through the roster, and I'm like, well, technically he's in the MCU. Yeah. I'm going to pull a wild card here. Right out the sleeve, there it was.
You can like the Robbie Reyes version, and I'm going to wait till the Johnny Blaze, like the True Blue comes. He actually does show up. There is a brief moment you do see him in the show. So I was like, and then the skull looks different, which is great. It looks like the legit, like old school Ghost Rider. And I'm like, like he's just so Spirit of Vengeance, man. I hope they put him in there one day. It'd be so great.
Plus the whole ties to like real life religion, or what do you want to call it? Supernatural things. The whole devil idea. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, he technically his power is unlimited. Like
Kind of. And if they keep talking about Phase 4 being really different from Marvel, if they do go more cosmic and also more kind of supernatural, there's a good chance that like Mephisto could be the next like kind of bigger bad, potentially, kind of. So that's when you'd introduce Ghost Rider, and I think that would be a really good time to have him become part of the MCU and also be a mainstay for it. So hey, if you can make Hulk be a full CG character the whole time, then why not have a fully CGI'd Ghost Rider? I mean, like, I'm talking a 20-80 split with, like, Johnny Blaze being the 20 and Ghost Rider being the 80%. Like, I don't need a ton of just, like, the actor playing. Like, if I got hired for Ghost Rider, I'd want them to use me, like, me, like my face, as little as possible. I'll do the motion capture for Ghost Rider. I learn how to ride a motorcycle. Like I feel like let's do this. But anyway, yeah, Ghost Rider, good pick, man, good pick. That's a very good pick. I think overall, yeah. If we're doing overall Marvel characters, he'd definitely be probably in my top 3. Anyway, MCU characters. I'm gonna throw you a curveball, Joe. I'm not gonna throw you a hero. I'm gonna throw you a villain. And I know what everybody's thinking. They're thinking, what's it gonna be? Thanos? Is it gonna be Loki? It couldn't be anybody else, could it? Well, maybe it is. Maybe. Wait, definitely. It's Ultron. I love Ultron. Ultron's so cool. Not only have I've kind of liked him before Age of Ultron, like in the cartoon show Earth's Mightiest Heroes. He's very interesting in that one. But the idea of Ultron, especially in the MCU, is cool to me because he's a very powerful character. They don't play it up enough, like the whole, like, you kill one of him and, like, another one shows up. Like, they do it, like, once Hawkeye shoots one down and then another one just takes his place. But he's a very powerful character, very interesting, very intelligent, and he's based kind of off of the brainwaves in the MCU of Tony Stark. And I think that is such a cool idea because they kind of have played with this idea of Tony not always being a good guy or doing a lot of good things, great intentions, but just really making everybody's life a lot worse for it. And I love Ultron kind of being those demons and those fears and those dreams put together and kind of coming to fruition, and just thinking like, wow, like Tony and I guess Bruce Banner to some degree created this character, this villain that could be the end of us all. And if they didn't have to relegate him to one movie, he's like a threat that's usually like a few like years long, and they have to just kind of run from him because you can never really truly destroy him, kind of thing. So yeah, I really love Ultron. Also, James Spader, like, just an excellent voice, a great actor for that role. I think he brings a lot of gravitas. He's got a lot of like really good little one-liners that I really like. One of my favorites being they're talking about vibranium, and he's like, it's the most versatile metal on the planet. What do the humans do? They make it into a frisbee. You know, like when he said that, the first time I'm like, that's such a good point, because like from his point of view, he'd be like, what, why, like, you just wasted this is so good. And he's like he makes like a body out of it, and he's just like super duper strong, and he's just everywhere. And he does say this at one point with Iron Man while he's fighting him. Iron Man's like, oh, you're already back, like, fighting those other people. And he's like, you're starting to understand, like, what I'm capable of. And that's, he's just such a cool threat. He is singular, but he is many. He's just this very interesting, kind of cool character. And I wish so much that he would come back, because I think they could flesh him out a little bit more, for lack of a better term. So, hey, Joe, what do you think of Ultron compared to the other villains in the MCU?
I like him. I think they stopped him a little too easily.
Yeah, he gets like burned out of the internet by Vision or whatever. It's like...
Yeah. How did that happen again? Tell me
Vision like grabs his face, and he does something, and then he's like, oh, I've been blocked from the rest of like the internet of like escape hatches or whatever. And then he's like, you destroyed my world, I'll destroy yours. And then he's trying to like, drop Sokovia and blow up the planet or whatever. But yeah, did you like Ultron, or do you still prefer Loki over him as far as like maybe favorite villains go, or maybe Red Skull? Maybe you really like Red Skull or something.
Well, the thing about Ultron is he seems very logical, so maybe in a sense maybe more predictable, whereas like Loki is maybe a little more off the rails and a little more unpredictable on what he's actually doing at any given time. But I don't know. I like Ultron a lot. I thought as far as the movies go, he played a very good main villain.
Okay.
And like you said, the casting was good. But yeah.
Cool. Well, Joe, that's my second favorite character of the MCU. Who gets your first runner-up or silver, or you'd give it to him and just be like, well, you're not as good as that guy. Who is it?
All right. Coming in hot, pal. Iron Man. Tony Stark. Tony Stark.
I had a feeling you were going to say that, and I had a prediction of what you were going to say about it, but I want you to talk, and then if you do say the term I'm thinking of, then I'll be like, mm-hmm.
I know what you think you know I'm going to say. I'm a gearhead.
Oh, I didn't think that, but...
Oh, dang it.
Nope.
Dang it. I thought we were on the same wavelength. We're not friends anymore.
You always say I'm a gearhead. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I am. I appreciate the fact that it's like something he created. It's machinery that functions at an utmost highest level possible. The power it contains and the outright just nothing really does it better than when you see the first film when he first finalizes that first suit. Not the one that he escapes with, but the hot rod red one.
Oh, for sure.
When he goes overseas or whatever and he realizes that people are getting his weapons and all that. Just the fact that could you imagine if something like that was real? You know?
Yeah.
And, just the tables could turn in such a way that we privatized world peace, and really you probably could.
Sure. Yeah, it's true.
Anywho, I love the design. It's just an epic design. You see that profile and you just know, and it's awesome. And the versatility of it, etc., is just really cool. It seems like he's got something for every situation in that suit. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, totally. I totally get that. I guess my question though to you is, do you actually like Tony Stark though? Like, you like the Iron Man suit a lot, but do you like Tony?
Screw that guy. The Iron Man suit, basically Jarvis, and what's the new one called? The replacement for Jarvis.
Oh, Friday?
Yeah, I like them.
That's a pretty good... Dude, Jarvis is a legit character, man. If you want to say Jarvis is your favorite, which, by the way, I watched this interview with Paul Bettany and James Spader, because they were touring, when they're talking about Age of Ultron, and he said, it used to be weird because this is the first movie I did, like, the Vision, and he's like, I used to just go in, I'd read all my lines after they were done with them, and I would just collect a big bag of money, and I'd be on my way. There was never, like, put him in makeup, do anything. It was just like, you read your lines, you get your money, you get out of here. Like, it's just like, thank you. Like, walking out, I'm like, good gig.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. I love the concept of Iron Man, the suit, the everything. If I had one in real life, you'd never find me. I would just be off the rails having a blast. Anywho, I actually think Tony Stark, the character, Robert Downey Jr., is excellent. Who else would I have cast in that role? Frickin' nobody. That's who. Nobody. That guy has taken that and like a big pile of Play-Doh and just molded it. It's him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like when I see him, I think of Iron Man.
Yeah, totally. If you just
what the hell's Iron Man doing in this movie? This isn't Marvel. What he's traveling across country with frickin' Zach Galifianakis and his French bulldog? What the hell's going on here? Wait, Tony Stark's married?
Yep, he married while Pepper was away. He's like, oh, that's sorry. I have my own separate life.
Yeah. Anywho, I think he's a cool guy overall, and he's kind of one of those examples of a star who brought his career back tenfold.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, do you like actually Tony Stark,
man,
like himself, not Iron Man, not Robert Downey Jr.? Do you like Tony Stark, like quippy and kind of causing problems, but also trying to fix things and building stuff? Like, do you like Tony Stark?
Yeah.
Good. That's fine. Is there anything else you want to say about Iron Man / Tony Stark?
No.
Okay. I love it. It's good. He's like, this is my second favorite character. I'm sticking to it. I thought for sure you were gonna say he's just flat out cool. I thought you were gonna definitely say the line flat out cool, but you didn't. I thought for sure. I had a premonition and you never did it. That's okay. Well, we're moving on to the very best, the inequivocal character that I love the most. That is the best, my favorite in all of the MCU. Joe, can you take a guess at who he or she could be?
Captain America?
All I heard was Catman America, so I'm going to say, no, Captain America. Yes, Captain America. Captain America's the best. Not only is his trilogy, which I guess Civil War, some people are like, it's not really like his third movie. Still called Captain America Civil War. His trilogy is the best trilogy by far of all of them. They're always changing. They're always different. But Cap is a cool guy. Cap is like the guy you want to be. He might be kind of a Boy Scout sometimes, but Cap's done some pretty bad stuff and some pretty rad stuff. Like, you know, he's not always a Boy Scout. He's done a lot of stuff. He's done some crazy things. He's been self-sacrificial. He's given up a lot, and he is a man that has been caught out of time, and he's learning where he fits in with everything else, and still sticking to his morals even when it's the hardest thing he has to do. Because when he fights the Chitauri or when he fights Ultron, it's kind of like, yeah, it's just, you know, this is what I'm going to do. But Civil War really tests, you know, we're talking about Tony Stark, that relationship right there. We've seen growth from Tony kind of going from this, you know, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist into this more like, I'm kind of concerned about the problems I'm causing. Whereas Cap has always been pretty even keel, and he's like kind of saying, hey, Tony, you've made a lot of mistakes, but just because you think this is the right thing to do doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for everyone to do. His power set's really great. You know, I love just like kind of, he's not like a really, 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 really strong character as far as like the entirety of the MCU goes, but like his moveset is still really cool and interesting, and I just love watching him work. I love, you know, using the shield in different ways and interesting ways, passing it off to people. I like the combos he does with Iron Man or Thor with the shield. I love that his physicality is very prominent, I should say, like in the beginning of Winter Soldier and in First Avenger and just throughout everything. Like if he kicks a regular dude, that guy's gonna go flying for a bit. And I just love watching him. I love watching his turmoil, the struggle he's had kind of with romance and kind of losing everything, his partnership with Bucky and all of that kind of being one of the big driving relationships of the MCU. I just love Cap. I think he's really cool. I think he's really amazing. I love his costume too, except for like the first Avengers. That one looks like garbage, and I think even Joss Whedon said that one doesn't look good. It's not. It's very rubbery. It's very rubbery. Like Winter Soldier looks way better, and it's like, all right, there we go. But yeah, I love Cap. Chris Evans does a great job coming from Human Torch, just killing it with another superhero. Pretty different too, you know, as far as like Human Torch is kind of a hothead, kind of a playboy. Cap is more like I'm kind of a one-woman man, and I have American ideals and kind of truth and justice in the American way. And yeah, I love Cap. Cap's great. He's the best in my eyes. Joe, what do you think of Cap?
I think he's a freaking Boy Scout.
Says the guy who loves Superman. I'm just kidding. Yes, sir, Mr. President. It's like, Superman. They'd get along, though. Cap and Superman would probably be buddies. You know, they'd be like...
They probably would. We should do a crossover. DCEU meets the MCU.
Well, it'd be really sad because
everybody shake hands.
Cap would be like, Superman, why are you frowning all the time? He'd be like, the world's a sad place. And then float away. Cap would be like... Guys, like, you got your mom, dude. Like, I got frozen for like 60 years. Like, he's like, my planet exploded. And it's like, all right, man. We all got problems.
My planet exploded. I think that trumps a lot of things.
Cap's like, I can't get drunk. Superman's like, oh, no.
What? Captain America can't get drunk?
Yeah, they say that in the first Avenger that I think it's like his metabolism's too fast or breaks it down too quickly, that he's just like, it shows him drinking in like a dilapidated area that's been destroyed, and he's just like, I can't get drunk anymore. But yeah. Also, last thing I want to say about Cap, I love that he was like a scrappy guy who still fought for these ideals even when he was a little dude, but it's like that same guy, that little guy, but now he's just like ripped. It's like you take like a kind of a weak, kind of introverted, kind of scaredy cat, and then you just turn him into like potentially he could have been the bully, but he's just like, no, I'm gonna fight for the little guy, and I love that. Something that Spider-Man's about too. What can I say? I like that kind of archetype.
Yeah, you know, not only that, but between Captain America and Iron Man, and maybe even more so Iron Man, the MCU has literally been built upon their shoulders.
Oh, for sure. Especially even Iron Man, because it wouldn't have started, you know, without that success. Yeah, for sure. And the fact that at the end of that movie, unlike a lot of superhero movies, he's just like, I am Iron Man. And everyone's like, what? Like, usually in superhero movies, like, no one will ever know my secret identity. You know, like, and he's like, that's me. He's like, let's make some money. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, but not only that, but Marvel and everybody, what a smart decision to
get Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans.
What a smart decision to get off on the right foot by leading in with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. Iron Man is a character, obviously, with today's generation and in the mindset towards technology and everything. You knew that he was going to be a success, aesthetically and just overall appeal. It's there, and so definitely starting off on the right foot with him. But yeah, so those two characters, great. Your number one, my number two. Here's my number one, Jimmy.
Here we go. I was gonna say, but still, you gave Iron Man a second place medal. You didn't give him number one. Who's your number one, Joe?
Hold on, let me find him here. I forget his name. I'm totally kidding, man. I'm totally kidding. It's Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier.
I had a feeling. Why do you like the Winter Soldier, Joe? I mean, what's not to like? The hair, the gauntlet.
Exactly.
The goggles.
Yeah. First of all, I love the way he rides a motorcycle and uses his arm as like a skid plate type thing to make aggressive turns.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. He's got an appealing vibe about him, and the fact that he's kind of split between he was this super bad person and he comes back from that. And there's that confusion about him, you know what I mean? So most of the team thinks he's a horrible person, needs to be taken in. Cap wants to save him because he was his best friend and realizes it wasn't him making the decisions, etc., etc. Yeah, I don't know. And I just love that, he's not overly flashy by any means. The most flashy part about him is he's got the arm, right? And they call that the gauntlet.
I don't know. That's just what I was just throwing on in. That's not technically a gauntlet, I don't think, but he does have one flashy moment though, Joe, where he blows up Nick Fury's SUV in the smoke, and he kind of like he's kind of steps past it. He's like, and then it's like kind of behind him. Like that's a pretty cool moment. You're like, whoa, cool.
Yeah. You know what else I like about him? Because he kind of plays that villain and kind of hero-ish, hero-ish. You know what I mean? Most recently, more. But
like anti-hero-ish kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Esque. Yeah, I don't know. He's just appealing. I like the fact that they portray him in the right light. There's not much dialogue. He doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk a lot, and especially in like Winter Soldier and stuff. I like that he's he's got that mysterious factor to him. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. More than anything, it's just a feeling. Like when I saw him in Civil War, I really liked him.
Sure.
I liked him a lot. I just thought he was cool. Really cool.
What do you think of James Buchanan Barnes or Bucky, like back in the first Avenger before he was the Winter Soldier? Did you like his dynamic, like his best friendship with Steve Rogers? Did you like him back then even?
Sure, maybe a little. I barely remember that movie because I didn't care for it.
Okay, Revelations. Okay. Oh, brace yourself, Jim. I got him. Vengeance is mine. Or as Ghost Rider would say, guilty.
How dare you make me waste Canada Dry?
Feels good. Yeah, I think one thing, we talk about, and we mentioned this in the past too, about him as a character, especially the Winter Soldier, is that he feels a lot like the Terminator. When you see him in Winter Soldier specifically, he's this kind of unstoppable force. He is just, every time you see him, there's whispers about him. Black Widow even talks about it. And I would love to see in her film, like a throwback to that mission where he shot her. I just really think he's a cool character, and his look is really amazing. I kind of wish he'd have the goggles and stuff on more, because I love when you take away the emotion, or you could just see the eyes. That's a good one too, where he kind of has his mask on like that. There's something about that is kind of freaky. kind of makes him feel like not a person anymore, just like a force of nature. And I just love kind of watching him fight on the highway and do all this stuff, and fight Cap with the knife, and like that whole sequence is really cool just to see him, and everyone's kind of like, whoa, if you fight the Winter Soldier, it's not good. And then again in Civil War, he is another big factor there, and he gets a really cool fight scene with T'Challa with the Black Panther on 2 separate occasions. They fight on the top of that rooftop when you see Black Panther for the first time, and you're like, whoa, he fights in a different way. And then later on you see them fight with Black Panther doesn't have the suit on, T'Challa does it, and it's just Bucky just walking around fighting people. You're right, man, he's a cool character. I love it. And I also love
badass.
You're right. He's kind of unpredictable. You never know if it's like, even Steve says to him at one point, he says like, am I talking to Bucky or am I talking to like the Winter Soldier? And then like Bucky tells him like kind of he's like, you used to wear newspapers in your shoes, and they kind of reminisce about girls at one point. And
that is cool when that Civil War. I enjoyed that kind of little quips.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's also a good time for him to show back up, because it's right during that really kind of strange time with the Sokovia Accords. And they're like, hey, yeah, by the way, we found Bucky, and Bucky apparently is being framed for like blowing up the Sokovia Accords. And it's like, do we tell Iron Man that we have Bucky like in custody right now? And he's like, I don't think he'd help us out even if we told him. It's like, oh. So there's that really good that kind of fight between, these friends in both Iron Man and Cap, but then also Cap or I should say just Steve and Bucky, and then Cap saying, hey man, I choose him and we're going to beat you up now. Like, Iron Man, we're going to beat you up. And, that whole sequence is very good, man. Good pick, man. Winter Soldier's good. I hope we get to see a lot more of him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him take up Cap's mantle one day.
So here's my question about Bucky. Do you think that they'll replace his arm?
Yes. Yep, for sure. They're going to give him, if his arm wasn't vibranium before, which I think it was, I think they will definitely give him a new arm in Wakanda, for sure. They've got tons of that stuff. He'll get woken up.
Yeah, so you're telling me that Iron Man's chest burst thing can break through or melt through vibranium?
So I don't think... that thing might have either had trace amounts of vibranium, and the only reason I say that is there's this moment when T'Challa and Winter Soldier are fighting, and like T'Challa's got the ring on, and there's like this weird kind of connection they have between the arm and the ring. And I don't know if maybe it isn't vibranium, it's another metal that he's kind of manipulating or whatever else. But yes, he does blow it, like his arm off. Like he kind of just takes it off. I don't know if we see like the arm ever like just sitting somewhere. So it's probably not all vibranium. I don't know. I don't know what the metal is composed out of, because that's a very good point.
I must know.
Because it probably isn't. You're right, Joe. It probably isn't pure vibranium if Iron Man can blow it off like with his unibeam. But we've also seen vibranium break down to like Ultron's body. Remember, is made of vibranium, so the combined might of Thor, Iron Man, and the Vision, melt it or break it down. But I think a lot of that has to do with like Vision. We don't like the Infinity Stone. Like if you take an Infinity Stone and shoot a laser through it, like I'm sure that can do like a lot of damage. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what that's about. But obviously he felt pain when that happened, because after that happened, he's kind of like, oh, like my arm, which is pretty neat. So yeah, good pick, man. Is there anything else you want to say about the Winter Soldier before we move on?
They're saying it's titanium-based alloys. There's no actual information on what it was made out of.
Sure. I guess that makes sense. The only reason I would think it has any vibranium is because of T'Challa in the ring, but that might not be anything. So, yeah. Like I said, maybe trace elements, maybe. It's very rare substance, that vibranium, anywhere else besides Wakanda. So, yeah.
Oh, there's all sorts of good information on this. We could go down a rabbit hole right now. People analyzing Civil War and Black Panther coming in contact with his arm with the claws and what did it do. Watching Civil War right now, and I'm reasonably sure that the Black Panther's claws make contact with Bucky's arm a few times while fighting. Normally, I would suspect that BP's vibranium claws would shred through Bucky's arm if it were made of anything short of vibranium. However, I don't know anything about Winter Soldier outside of the films. Never heard it as mentioned. Does anyone know the lore behind his arm, etc.?
Yeah, I don't remember if in the comics and stuff it's actually made of vibranium or not, because it was made, like Cold War steel or something like that, because like the Russians and Hydra and all that. So like I said, it could have like a trace amount, or it might have a coating of it, but at the same time, if Iron Man were to blow it off, like kind of disconnect it, because he does kind of take the whole arm off. It's not like he blows off like a part, like a chunk of it, and like it drops to the floor. It's like that from like the shoulder down is gone.
One major assumption is that it's carbonadium, as the Russians invented it.
Oh, okay. That's there's a very good chance of that. And maybe what they'll do is they'll play with a metal like that, or maybe a new metal in the MCU, and they'll say like, oh, vibranium kind of either attracts or repels that metal. I couldn't tell what was going on in that moment in there. I was like watching, I'm like, I can't tell if this is like what's going on here, but interesting. I don't know, just a cool other tie to potentially to Black Panther. So yeah, again, your three, Joe, were Winter Soldier, Iron Man, and Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we're calling it. And then mine were Spider-Man, Captain America, and Ultron. Not in that order. Spider-Man, Ultron, Captain America.
Yeah.
Joe, the Winter Soldier sure kills a lot of people, but we like to kill a lot of time in this segment that we call
Killing Time.
That's not the graphic.
I took a Western spin on it. Killing time, like an old cowboy.
It's Timekillers, everybody. Timekillers.
Timekillers.
These are the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been reading, the comic books we're trying to apparently find the backstories out about, because we got to know about these arms. Joe, I recently watched 3 films, and we're going to play a quick little game. I'm going to tell you the names of these 3 films. You'll probably know at least 2 of them, and we're going to go good, okay, and bad. The 3 films were, you probably wouldn't know this one, but it's called The Founder. It's new on Netflix, but it's kind of the backstory of how McDonald's started. Pretty interesting, actually. But The Founder, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and Power Rangers. Joe, can you tell me which one was good, which one was bad, and which one was okay, in my mind?
Founder was good. Scott Pilgrim versus the World was okay. And Power Rangers was horrible.
Actually, you're wrong, Joe. I'd say The Founder was good. You're right there. I would say Power Rangers was fine. Scott Pilgrim is bad. Okay.
Well, here's the thing, Jimmy. I knew Scott Pilgrim was horrible. I caught a bit of it, and I thought, who the hell thought it was a good idea to make this stupid-ass movie? And then
so funny.
I don't remember anything about it. I just remember I hate it. I didn't even watch it all. Anywho, I thought for sure you'd be like, Power Rangers was disappointing, yo.
Okay. There's a lot I want to unpack here. Okay, first off, let's just go with The Founder first. Basically, it's the story of, these 2 guys.
Michael Keaton.
Yes, Michael Keaton, but he goes and finds the guys who started McDonald's, like the McDonald's brothers. The movie is how his character and the guy in real life took over that company by basically, spoiler alert, buying all the land and buying just taking all the land underneath everything else. And so eventually what happened was like the brothers would say like, hey, we're doing this in our stores. And then he would say, nope, we're not doing that in your stores anymore. Because he said, your authority stops at the door and at the floor, because I bought the land that you're on. So everywhere like above and below and around your store is mine. And so he basically takes over and franchises out McDonald's like crazy. And eventually the brothers settled for a settlement of $2.7 million, which a piece would give them about $1 million. This was back in like the 50s or 60s, after taxes. And they had to their little store, the one they started at, ended up shutting down because the guy put a McDonald's across the street eventually. And he's like, and then, I'm sorry, this is kind of spoiling the whole movie. It's really fascinating. You should watch it. But
spoiler alert.
He used to be the guy Michael Keaton plays. He does a great job because it's freaking Michael Keaton. And when I watched him, I was like, I got to go see Spider-Man Homecoming again for that vulture. But he does a really good job of portraying this guy. And they actually show footage of this guy eventually. I was like, wow, he nailed it. But he was he would just sell different stuff. He was like a door-to-door salesman. He was selling like this 5 malt mixer thing. And he was going around and he finally found these guys because they ordered like 8 of them because they were doing so well. So he drove out to California and met them. And he said, the moment I heard and saw the name McDonald's, I knew I had to have it. And he said, it's because of the name. He said, his last name, it was like Kroc or something. He's like, you wouldn't eat at a place called Kroc or Crocs. He's like, but McDonald's, that sounds like a lot like America. And he said, it's just a good name. And that's what I bought. He's like he basically just wanted the name, and he became very successful for it, like a lot of money. And they actually also, this deal that they struck, Joe, for, it was like $1 million a piece. They also he said, you'll get your royalty, boys, but it's gonna have to be a handshake deal, which basically meant like you just have to shake my hand and know that that royalty would work out. That deal never went through, Joe, and the royalties that they would have gotten per year were upwards of $100 million today per year. I was like, oh my God. Like, if you're like the ancestors, you know, to this whole like potential fortune, it was like, he just never made good on his deal. And that sucks. So basically you watch the rise of a villain in this film, and it's like,
oh my God, I would burn down every McDonald's ever.
It'd be hard to do. There's a ton of them. But yeah, I would highly recommend watching it. Michael Keaton. There's some other good actors in there, but mostly him. He's stellar. Power Rangers. Power Rangers. Power Rangers. Oh my God. There are some moments, Joe, where I think, man, this could have been great. There's some things I think, man, it's like my childhood. There's like a few, I'm like, ugh, and it doesn't get there. But it's not, it's fine. It's okay. There's just some kind of bad things that make you scoff. It's exactly what I said it was going to be, Joe. It's Breakfast Club meets Power Rangers, because it's like, oh, we're a bunch of misfits, you know, but we all got superpowers, so we got to learn to come together and be buddies, even though we're different walks of life. Like the original Power Rangers is not that way. Like, they're all just like friends from the beginning, and they all just happen to just be chosen to be Power Rangers. And I would have rather have liked that, as opposed to be like, oh, you're like a nerdy kid and I'm like a quarterback, and we'd never be friends, but we're in detention together, so we can be friends now. It's like, and okay. Another thing is to, if you walk into this movie thinking, like when you go see Transformers, maybe back in the day you walk in there, you think, man, I can't wait to see some Transformers. When you walk into this one, you'd be like, man, I can't wait to see some Power Rangers. Well, guess what, Joe? You maybe get 20 minutes of Power Rangers, because they get these stones, Joe. They get the stones, and they're basically just like super powered teens. They could jump really far, and they can like break stuff or whatever. But they don't get the suits. They don't get the flippin' suits until like the spoilers for Power Rangers, by the way.
No, I want to watch it.
Do you want me to stop?
No, you go for it, pal. I'll ruin this.
Okay, anyway. They finally get the flippin' suits. It takes forever to do this. All this time, like Bryan Cranston is Zordon, and like he's like, oh, you have to earn the suits. And he was a Red Ranger once, and the problem is that he is trapped as a face now in the ship inexplicably, because he died, but then he got put into this matrix or whatever. Not even the Morphin Matrix, or something else. But the villain was a Green Ranger who just went power hungry for no reason. Rita Repulsa, Elizabeth Banks. I'll get to her in a second. But anyway, they finally get the Power Ranger suits. They're all wearing them. They're walking out with them. And then they do that thing, Joe. They do that thing at the end of every superhero film. If you have a mask, they just take them all off. So they're wearing the suit, but they don't have the mask on. So they don't do the whole, like, you know, back in the day when Power Rangers would talk with the suits, they had to shake their heads a lot. You know, they had to be like it's over there. You know what I mean? Like, so we didn't get that, which would have been great. But they're all sitting in their Zords or whatever with like all the things on, but it's just like, it's like an Iron Man suit, Joe. It's straight up an Iron Man suit without the mask. You know, when Tony takes the mask off, everybody's wearing that. Everybody's wearing that. And they're fighting in their Zords and all this stuff. They're fighting these CGI putties, and they're fighting. The weirdest
putties?
Yeah, that's the name of the villains. They were called putties. They used to be just like dudes in like brown suits, and like you could hit them with a spark and they'd blow up. But now they're like crap CGI. But Rita Repulsa, who used to be like this cackling witch on the moon, is like very weird. And I'll tell you why. Before she attacks, she's kind of like the xenomorph. There will be like water or drool or something will fall on someone, and they'll be like, what was that? And then she'll show up right in your flipping face. Like, she'll be like, hi. And you'll be like, oh. It's like very, very creepy. It's very strange. They have this whole, like, she's a mummy for a bit. She has to come back to life and like suck the life essence out of people. And the linchpin of this whole movie, Joe, of the whole film, is Krispy Kreme. I kid you not. There is this like world stone or whatever that she's trying to get to, this gem. And if she gets that, she could like take over the universe. Every planet's got a stone, like a life stone. And it happens to be built underneath the Krispy Kreme. Now, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if it was like, oh, it's the Krispy Kreme, we should go down there. But at the end of the movie, Joe, I kid you not, they say Krispy Kreme like 10 times. And there's one moment where Rita Repulsa, the villain, takes a moment to be in the Krispy Kreme while the fighting's happening outside because she summoned a big gold monster named Goldar. Doesn't look like the old Goldar, but she's trying to eat the donuts from Krispy Kreme. Like, she gets a few donuts and she's going to try them out, because when you're on a quest for universal domination, you can take a second and just eat some donuts at the Krispy Kreme. And like, they're in their Zords and he's like, we got to get down to the Krispy Kreme right now. It's just like, it's all about the Krispy Kreme. It's the weirdest, most blatant product placement I've ever seen in a movie. It's just so weird. And I don't know, Joe, if you have any Krispy Kreme by you, but it was here for a while where I live, and then it was gone. So it's really strange to me, because I'm like, it's Krispy Kreme. Like, we'll double down on Power Rangers. We'll totally make this work. Everybody loves donuts, man.
Yeah. Oh, they're horrible. I think down south they're a little more popular. I've noticed that Dunkin' Donuts is making a surge, but I know that Krispy Kreme has really good coffee. I used to get the Krispy Kreme K-Cups. I thought they had good coffee, but
they got to Joe. Oh goodness, Chris, if you see next week that we're eating donuts from Krispy Kreme, they got to me too, and I'd be fine with that.
I'm the Camo Ranger. Oh my god! I just thought of a thing.
That's the way you'd be such a bro ranger. Like, hey guys, how many reps can you do? And they're like, reps of what? Everything. Oh, Camo Ranger is the worst. Where's the Zord? You like run into it. You're like, oh, it's camouflage always.
Always. You never see it coming. Talk like crazy wild man Randy Savage. I'm the cream of the crop.
And eventually, like, the camo goes away. It's a gorilla, and you're like, it's time for some guerrilla tactics. And you're like, no, please, no. Shut up.
Could this guy get any cheesier?
Last thing I want to mention, they make the Megazord, which is all the dinosaurs coming together. It's fine, but I kind of miss the old days, Joe. It would be like all 5 of them in the cockpit, and like, I don't know if like the Red Ranger just took control. Everybody, it was like if you would have an arm, Joe, and you would control the arm, so they had to learn to like walk together. And this was during the final fight. Like, they didn't train to do this before. They'd never used their Zords before ever. They're taking this on, and it's just so weird to me, because it's like, why didn't you just halfway through the movie, like, wasn't the budget maybe wasn't there? It's like, why didn't you just start them with like the suits and be like, hey, there you go. Yeah, it was, but it's fine. I know I'm kind of making fun of it, but there were some interesting things about it. It was disappointing, but it's fine. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, though, I watched the first Blu-ray I've ever watched in my life back in the day. Watch it again. I was like, it's been a couple of years, Joe. I'm going to give it another shot.
You watched it twice.
I don't like that movie. And the thing is, I should, because it's made for video game lovers. If you love video games, you're going to love Scott Pilgrim. Well, guess what I hate? Michael Cera. I really hate that guy. Like, I really do. He is a jerk throughout the entire film, and he has barely any redemption. And I don't know why anyone hangs out with him. He's so mean to everyone. He's like cheating on people and being mean to people, saying mean things. I'm like, this is the hero of our story? What's going on? It was just disappointing. I don't like it. It's trying too hard. And Edgar Wright, I don't know. He's kind of hit or miss for me right now. I've seen some things I've liked from him. I've seen a lot of things I don't like from him. And that is a movie that if you've never seen it before and someone's like, you like video games, you should like Scott Pilgrim. Not the case. Play the video game. I've heard it's much better. There's like a cool arcade Scott Pilgrim game. But yep, Seriously? There you go. Yeah, I've heard it's really good. It's like a beat 'em up, like side scrolling, like with your buddies, Turtles in Time style. But yeah, that movie sucks.
I don't remember anything about that having anything to do with video games.
Yeah, it's like he has to fight 7 evil ex-boyfriends so he can date this girl, or 7 evil exes. Because one of them, spoiler alert, one of them's a girl, and just because she went through a phase where she was a lesbian for a bit. It's like, it's not the whole, like, I'm not like, sighing because of the lesbian thing. I'm just sighing because it was like so blatant when you watch it. He's like, oh, you have 7 ex-boyfriends? And she's like, no, 7 exes. And it's like, okay. It just, I don't know. That movie just bummed me out, and I don't like it. And I think it tries to be creative, and there are a few things that it does that are creative, but there are better things, like Video Game High School, that I think are better for video game lovers. There you go. That's what I've been killing time with. Joe, what have you been killing time with, pal?
Yeah. Work. No, I'm just kidding. All right, to be 100% honest, yeah, I've been killing time with work.
Has to be good things, Joe. We said games, movies, and TV shows. You got to be watching something.
The reason I say that is because really all I've had time to kill time with.
There's two things I can
the
think of.
only thing that I've killed time with has been
For Honor and Game of Thrones.
Yes,
either of those
there
things.
we go.
Either of those
For Honor. I knew it was Honor, and I'm like, what's the first part of the title? I could not think of it. And it's For Honor.
I just love you as like the PR rep for that game, and they're like, "So Joe, what are you talking about today?" You're like, "It's Honor something, honor bound, honorful,
something honor." Yeah, I'd have to like write it on my hand, the number 4 and honor.
Yep.
Anywho, yeah, I've been killing time with that. I know you played briefly with me there, and I played quite a bit with Drew. Played through a lot of the story mode. I played through the night quest, and then the almost done with the Raider or Viking quest. So I'm almost moving into the samurai portion of things. It's great. I didn't think that the whole combat thing, the technical combat would wear off on me, but it did. And I guess not wear off, rub off on me, as in I enjoy it a lot. It's difficult, but I get the hang of it more and more, and I found that I'm a little more effective than I thought I ever would be. So the multiplayer is fun. I enjoy it. I think it's all right. I wish they got better support for their servers and all that, and I wish that they were still pumping into it to make it more fun, but I don't think we're going to see anything down the pipe, right?
Well, we're getting new heroes and new maps, so. Yeah.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are still working on it.
Yeah, yep. They're just trying to, like I said, I think they said they were getting dedicated servers, because I know we played and we had some connectivity issues which have plagued that game for a long time, and that really sucks, especially in it sucks in a first-person shooter, but it sucks even more if you're about to kill someone. You've been fighting for like a minute, like you're like, I'm fighting this guy forever, and then it's like disconnected. And you're like, ah. So yeah, but you're digging it though.
Yeah, so that game is good, and I picked it up. It was $30. Why not? So and I'm hoping we can play and maybe stream a bit of it in the future. The other things I've been killing time with are Game Sunday, baby. Me and Drew. Yeah, our buddy Drew. He's like a super fan of Game of Thrones, and I'm kind of getting there. I'm compelling getting the books, or at least maybe getting audiobooks just to listen to it. I know there's like a history Game of Thrones World of Fire and Ice history book that I'd like to listen to kind of get a background on why things are the way they are, kind of a deal. But yeah, it's just a good series, man. It's enthralling. It really is. And when it ends at the end of an episode, you're just like, son of a bitch.
That's why I can't wait for it to all be done, and then I'll just watch it all. I'll be like, oh, I can just watch the next one right now.
Yeah, but you also have to realize, I mean, there's already 6 seasons out, plus the 5 episodes of season 7. I mean, we're already almost halfway through this thing, or we are. Or it might even be shorter. I don't know. Anyway, so those seasons would take quite a bit of time.
That's okay.
Yeah, but... yeah, I don't know. It's just good. It's really well done. The first 5 seasons especially, and then now that the writers and producers have kind of taken the reins from Mr. Martin, I think it's changed slightly. You know, I feel like information is put out there a little more blatantly. It's not as cloaking as it would have been, more based on the books, but George R.R. Martin is a little behind the 8 ball when it comes to keeping up. So yeah, good stuff.
Was that like a pool joke, by the way?
What?
A little behind the 8 ball? Is that like a pool reference?
Well, behind the 8 ball means that I don't know. I've heard it used like if you're behind or lacking.
Yeah, that's what it'd be like if in pool, because you got to get to that 8 ball. Cool. References, I understand them. But you're liking Game of Thrones. That's good to hear. Like, I just want them to finish up because it sounds like it's going to be a year or 2 years before they actually do finish up with this. And they're making 4 spin-offs and all this crazy stuff. I'm going to finish up, let the zeitgeist pass, and then I'll show up. So,
Okay. FYI, dragons are freaking awesome.
yeah,
I
man.
want one.
I've known that since Smog, man.
Yeah, these are better. Anywho,
They got teeth coming out of their gums, though, in a weird way. I don't like that.
No, you saw some pictures
on him. Images pop up everywhere. They're like, oh, this Game of Thrones. I love goat as much as the next person. But start calling it goat. People would not like.
That's what the dragons eat, are goats.
Oh, I know it's GOT, so I'd be like, I love got. Gotta get got. Gotten it got. Get gotten. But anyway.
Oh, I was going to mention, none of the episodes this year have been as good as the most recent one. Another little thing I'd like to mention, Killing Time.
Mm-hmm.
Tidbit of news yesterday, and I should have brought this up earlier. I apologize, Jimmy, but what do you think of this? While filming Deadpool yesterday, died on set.
Yes, a stunt woman, and I was going to bring this up, and I apologize. And so basically, yes, a stunt woman died during a, I believe, a motorcycle kind of stunt. It was they did it 4 times before successfully. The 5th time was unsuccessful, and she was going through plated glass or something like that, and she did unfortunately perish on set. I'm glad you brought that up, and I would just like to say I don't think any of her friends or family probably watch this, but our hearts do go out to them. That is a horrible tragedy, and that's something you don't hear about a lot. And I know Ryan Reynolds has tweeted out about it. I know Fox was tweeting out about it and talking about it, and it's horrible. That's really, really sad. It's just a freak accident, and that is something that it can still happen, even with all the safety precautions we have, all this stuff, we're trying to make our movies, bigger and better. And even with this R-rated one being less of a budget, maybe they're trying to go for more of a practical feel, which, Joe and I always promote. I think we never have said this caveat, but obviously if it comes down to saying, hey, we could do this practical thing, but it could really, really hurt someone, or we can do it CGI, I'd rather have you do CGI. Like, I would really rather have you do that. I don't want anyone to get hurt or die for this, but it's really, really sad, and I was sorry to hear that. I was like, what? Like, are you kidding? Like, that's horrible. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I would say about that, Joe. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about that?
So there's a woman doing a motorcycle stunt? I
believe so, yeah. I think that's what it was.
Did she get like cut or something going through glass?
No idea, and I don't know if there are details out about it. I don't think they were going to dive. I think they were just going to say something happened, and I'm sure they've investigated it, and they know obviously the reason, but it was something they probably weren't like, hey, this is exactly how she died.
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect them to advertise it. I guess I had happened to walk into. I got home late tonight before recording the podcast, and I stopped in a Subway, and as I walk in, I see on the news some woman with a motorcycle helmet, like a set of leathers on for like sport bike racing.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call that? Anywho, they was talking about her dying or something, and her family, yada yada, and then she'll be missed and all that, and she was a vicious spirit, yada yada, and racing and all that. So she must have been some sort of. It looked like she was a motorcycle racer at one point, turned stunt woman. But yeah, it was interesting. I kind of caught that in the Subway. So apparently, it's news that's hitting heavy nationwide.
Yeah, it's just really, really unfortunate. I'm sorry I didn't bring that up in news. I really should have. That's on me. Not necessarily. For the
not
segment,
really
but,
good news.
No, not at all. And I thought, like, of all movies, and I guess it makes sense. Like I said, maybe they're going for a smaller budget because they only have a smaller budget, and they probably are doing a practical effect. They're like, oh, we can do this, and it just, they did it 4 times flawlessly, and then they decided to go for a 5th time. And I guess I don't know how many takes they usually do on stunts of that magnitude. If they, were like, hey, let's just try one more time just to see if we can make it work this way, and it just is really unfortunate. So. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, and our hearts go out to her family and everyone affected by it. That sucks. I'm sorry. Really am. But now, Joe, now that we're done with all the news and all the things we've been using up our time on, let's get into my favorite segment of the show, community feedback and questions. Now, last week, Joe, we asked our Legionnaires to tell us who their top 3 villains of all time were. We got some pretty good responses, actually. I want to start with my friend Corey Lang, the guy I do the Game Sharks podcast with. But he said, okay, here it is. And then this is the order starting from 3rd to 1st. So 3rd is Ganon from Zelda. 2nd is Skeletor. And 1st is Dracula. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good list. We have... I was say something about that, Joe?
No, I just said, interesting. Dracula seems to be popular on the list.
Definitely. He's one of those kind of big bads that everyone's known for a long time, kind of harkening back to those old Universal Monster days, as Corey would say. But yeah, Anna sent in, she said Slade from Teen Titans, Deathstroke. She said, she actually explained a little bit more here. She said, because he's radical and cool. Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame, he was just horrifying, and you can imagine him existing in real life, which that's very true. Just this horrible, horrible guy. And then Maleficent, she just good. She is just good. But yeah, and then Ryan, our good friend Ryan, Joe, he sent in from 3rd to 1st. 3rd, Lex Luthor. Number 2, the Joker. And 1st, Darth Vader. Can't say I disagree with him on number 1. That's pretty...
Who's number 2?
The Joker.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I was talking to Corey about that today, and I was telling him my list, and I said, like, Green Goblin, I like over Joker, and he agreed with me on that. I was just saying, I was like, it's like the Joker, but elevated. But if you still love Joker, Ryan, you're listening to this, I completely understand why you like him, and I'm not going to trash on Joker. He's obviously one of the most prolific villains of all time. It's just, yeah, he's just a different type of villain. He's much more psychological, I think, and that's where the scares come in from him, you know.
So I know we don't normally do anything too personal on here, but speaking of Ryan, didn't he just recently have a big moment in his life?
Did he? I didn't see anything. Uh-oh. Maybe I missed something.
Uh-oh. Pretty sure I
could have swore
Wait, I saw...
Wait, don't say anything. Hold on. I'm hitting buttons. Pressing things. Hitting things. Did I? Oh.
I mean, I wasn't putting you on the spot. Maybe you weren't online to see it, whatever, but...
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that. Oh, well... We could break this news. I don't care if Ryan, he got engaged. Congratulations to you, my friend. Our mercenary getting engaged. I don't know when he has time to date when he's out on the field of battle, but I mean he's a sellsword, so I suppose he's got free time. But congratulations, man. That's huge. I didn't see that. Cool. That's fantastic news. Joe, do you have anything you want to say?
Congratulations. Yeah, that was my reason for bringing it up.
It's like I'm holding a gun to Joe's head, and I'm like, you better fucking say something.
What?
Please, that's a good point, though, Joe. If you guys ever have, we say if you want questions or topics and things, if you have, like, cool, interesting events like that happen in your life, or something bad happens and you just want us to kind of, talk about it for a moment, too, please, if there's anything like that, let us know. We want to share in your life because you share in our lives. So never hesitate to let us know that type of stuff, unless you really want to keep it from getting out. If you post it on Facebook or if you post it on Twitter and stuff and we bring it up, I usually figure that's kind of fair game. But if there's something you're like, well, I don't want to talk about that, that's totally fine too. So yes, but now let's go into the questions. Joe, we got a question here from Night Warrior 29, #Critical Podcast. I think really old games like those on the Atari and the N64 era can be successfully remade for current consoles. Agree or nah? Yeah, Night Warrior, I'd say definitely. I think we're kind of seeing spiritual successors or just like iterations in the franchise. I've been playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and I look at Breath of the Wild kind of being like the evolution of that. But if you want to be specific, I could see them taking and making, that game and really truly doing like a full remake of it on, Nintendo Switch or something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. So yeah, I think it can be done. And I think we will probably see more and more of that from those old eras, being remade and brought to newer platforms, because it's one less idea to have to think about. Joe, do you have anything to say about that? You think they could remake N64 games onto the new consoles and just be like, hey, we're just taking, one of like Area 51 and they're just freaking going crazy with it and making it really pretty?
007 from N64 would be awesome to remake.
Sure, and they've kind of tried to do it, but they like a true from the ground up remake would be like.
I know they tried to redo it. There was one where it was kind of like a super sleuth spy game, and it was more like story mode driven. I always thought the N64 multiplayer was kind of fun. I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Sure. That's what like
it was almost like you were. Yeah, it was like the start off of all that, and it was more like you were navigating a maze because everything was like built in square. Wasn't like a intricate real life looking map, but that started it all off for me. I love playing that game and having the launcher.
Oh yeah, dude.
Or the golden gun.
Well, yeah. Well, like if Doom kind of was like one of the biggest first-person shooters, then like GoldenEye was like the multiplayer first-person shooter that started that. Like we can thank GoldenEye for a lot of things, like getting into Call of Duty and now even into Destiny and other first-person shooters people love so much. So. Yeah, definitely, man. I would love to see full remakes of those games, like true full. And maybe they've done that, and then we don't know about it. But I haven't seen one to the extent. Like, there's a difference between a remaster and a remake. A remaster is usually like up-resing and making things prettier and stuff. A remake is like from the ground up, like we are remaking.
Yeah.
This game. Like,
wait, so we're going with remakes, right?
Oh yeah. We're going like hardcore.
Yeah. So, what was the other one we had just mentioned?
I said Area 51 is a joke, but I was talking about...
Yeah. No, that's not a joke. If you bring that, I mean, PS2, that's old crap, all right?
It's not that old, though. PS2 looks pretty... Some of the stuff on there looks pretty dang good, actually. Joe's just cracking open
That's Canada Dry Ginger Ale #2. So, these long podcasts, you got to stay hydrated.
They get to him. Yes, but great question, though, Night Warrior. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, one less idea. I could see him, doing that more so. And they'll still keep making new iterations of Zelda, but if they did like a full remake of Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or something, that'd probably be on the 3DS, which they may have already done. I don't know if it was like a remake versus remaster. Anyway, next question comes in from Anna, Weird Girl. Really good question here, Joe. Echo Critical, #Critical Podcast. If you were a final boss, which I assume of a video game, what would your name be? What about your powers / abilities, your dialogue sequence? Joe, do you have any thought on if you were the final boss of a game? What would you look like, Joe? What would you be about, man?
Jeez, this is a tough question. I don't know. This is something you got to put a lot of thought into if you want it to be cool and right.
I definitely didn't put a lot of time or thought into this. For our audio listeners, I just gave a big wink, and I will not be putting in a sound for that wink. I put a lot of. Well, let's workshop this a little bit, Joe. Would you be like a big were you sitting in like a throne? Are you fighting this protagonist hand to hand? What are you doing? Are you what kind of villain are you?
How about like some sort of? I feel like I'd be something like from Darksiders.
Oh, dude, sick! You got me amped already. Wait, would you be like a demon, dude? That'd be so cool. Yeah,
I would be. Or you know what I'd like to be? I'd like to be something like the Headless Horseman from Sleepy Hollow.
Okay, that'd be cool.
And I would like to be in a horror game where you're playing as Ichabod Crane.
So you just want to be the Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing else different. Nothing else different about that.
Maybe a little bit more blood and gore, and not just cackles and stuff. But
okay,
yeah. Similar to the Johnny Depp film, something of that nature.
Are you using like a sword? What are you using as your weapon of choice?
It'd be a long-handled axe.
Okay. Do you have any dialogue, or is it mostly just laughing?
Laughing.
Okay. You're just running people down. Okay.
No, you know what? There would be no dialogue, not even any laughing. It would be like the ring wraith sounds.
Oh, dude. I told you that in the past. Maybe I said this, but like Peter Jackson's wife is the one who actually did that scream.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they said they were trying to figure out the noise for the ring wraiths, and she came in and she like went, and you never see her because she is like, of the two of them, they decided that Peter was going to be the guy, like the face and everything. So you never see her in anything usually ever. But she came into the sound studio and she did that scream. And I think the term they might have used is like, it like blew our eyebrows off or something. Cause like to hear that scream and like that that scream came out of a person. They might have augmented it a little bit, but like that yell came from a human being. That blood curdling, spine tingling, like, oh, we're all gonna die. Like, you know, the scream that people hear right before death comes. Like,
Yeah, I don't know if that's any sort of compliment or not. That's kind of
it's just impressive. I'd be like the sound guys are probably like, they're like blood coming out of their ears. They're just like, did you record that? It broke the sounds. It's the sound recording device.
It quit working, sir.
Yeah, but that's but anyway, that would be, so you just do a scream, like a ring wraith scream. That's what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Well, Joe, I had a little bit of time to put into this. And I'm sure if you had a little more time, maybe you'll come back to this question, but here's what I'm
happy with my choice.
Okay. So I picture us kind of in this this spherical room, very spacey. We're on a spacecraft above a planet. This is kind of a space, like fighting, like third-person action game.
I know what he's doing.
Maybe. When I thought about it a little more, I'm like, man, I almost remade a villain that I love, but I've made him different.
Okay.
Anyway, the name of my villain would be Drake, the Galaxy Crusher. So basically, Drake would be in like all black armor with like cool black gauntlets that have like spikes and like claws on them, and you have like a cool cape with like a little bit of violet on like the very bottom, like maybe on the fringe or something. And you have a black helmet on that had like purple or violet eyes. I wanted to go with violet, get away from the red and the crimson for a bit. But anyway, to start the fight, my villain would he's got like this kind of power suit on. It's kind of like a mech suit, kind of think Anthem style, Joe. But anyway, kind of he can use this suit to do a lot of different things. He can kind of project energy onto objects and kind of use telekinesis. He can shoot like purple and black flames from it, it's like big like flamethrowers like that. He can also, and this is kind of his best ability, besides being able to be like really strong and really fast, if he wants to fight you up close, he can move really quickly. But he can make portals with it, like purple portals that he can jump through and move through. And so what he'll do to fight people is like he might pick someone up by their throat, throw them, make a portal behind him, and turn around and make another portal like behind him, so they come through it, and then he can just punch them really hard, like around the back of the head or whatever else. And the best thing about this guy is if you whittle him down enough, if you get the helmet off, he's got white hair, he's got violet irises or whatnot. He's kind of a young guy. I guess he kind of looked like me anyway. That's how I pictured it because I made this guy. But he'd produce, he could summon, you know, things through these portals and stuff. He'd pull out this thing called the Black Hole Blade. Now it would look like a katana, Joe, like the hilt would and the blade itself, but it's not really a blade. It looks like just like space time in the shape of a blade. And if he hits you with it even once, you get sucked into a black hole. Yeah, man, that would be so cool. So the last part of this fight, you just couldn't get hit at all. You'd have to be moving real quick because even if you blocked it, you just get pulled into this thing and crushed. Just infinitesimally small. But yeah, that's who my villain would be. Drake, the Galaxy Crusher. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be impressed and lots of reverence. I'm not seeing either of those things right now. It's killing me. I thought about this for like minutes upon minutes. I want to see.
Here's the thing. I am impressed. It was very creative. Nice. More so than I probably could have come up with. But, you know, notice how we're two different people. You went for the kind of galactic approach. I went for the intimate horror approach.
That's true. I was also thinking, like, if my guy lost, like, he wouldn't lose, and then he would just, like, he would teleport out and then just, like, detach that part of the spaceship, like the command deck, so it would, like, fall, or, like, it would blow up and he'd go out into space, so the hero would die in just the vacuum of space. But I was also thinking of, like, a backstory where it's, like, he's going around fighting every person on every planet and just trying to take over, and I was like, oh, this gotta be so cool. Like, I don't want to play a game where you're just the villain the whole time. They've done a few games like that, but, like, where you start off really, really strong. I'm also thinking he's really fast, like Superman speed and Man of Steel, and like punching people. So if he hits you, you're like,
whoa, slow down.
Yeah, dude, the suit gives him the power, man. Like his suit, that's what he's very intelligent. It's like Iron Man, but on a galactic scale. That's what he made the blade out of, and that those the teleport and flame gauntlets helped him forge that black hole blade, which is one of the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Because when he brings it out, well, the dialogue that he would say as he brought it out, he'd be like, "Do you know what this is? This destroyed Galvatron 4, that entire sector with one swing." So he'd be like, "Oh man, if like he ever hits you with it, it's like kind of a big deal." You know, he'd build himself up a little bit. But yeah, that's who I would be as a final boss. I'd look rad. my violet and black armor. It would be so cool. So yeah, and I think, Joe, that's gonna do it. Oh wait, I lied. We have one more question. One more. I remember it from Fragadin. I'm trying to find it here on Twitter. Here we go. Excellent question here. It says, Echo Critical, with Artifact, the Dota card game being announced, does this feel like one too many card games? Adapt and overcome, #Critical Podcast. Now, Joe, you're probably not as familiar with all these card games that are kind of being spun off from major games. Hearthstone is a big one for Blizzard. You got Gwent over for Witcher. I know they're making one for like Skyrim, and now this one too. So I'm happy to kind of take the lead on this. But you know, a card game, they've proven to be successful and lucrative. And I think the thing about a card game is, while you have to balance it out and make it interesting and constantly update it, you don't have to put like a ton of animations and stuff in there once you get kind of the base ones down. So yeah, it's just another card game. By this point, there's only 2 or 3, I think, that are like the best ones. And maybe this one will be good, but the space is becoming more and more full as these other card games came out, and like those old Magic the Gathering, like actual video game card game that people really seem to like as well, along with Hearthstone being the kind of the top 2, maybe Gwent up there too. But yeah, I don't know if it's just if the market's just becoming oversaturated with it, but we're probably going to see more and more of this stuff crop up. I think people just like card games. They're fast, they're fluid. You just can play a match and get out of it, and you can be in that world without having to invest 2 or 3 hours. You can invest 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, great questions. Thank you so much, everybody. If you do have a question for us or a topic or something you want to hear us chat about, all you have to do is tweet the #Critical Podcast to either of us. You can tweet it at our official Twitter account, which is @GoCritical. Or you can tweet at me. I'm at JimmyGood013. Or you can tweet at Joe at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Yes, it is. I'm not even going to acknowledge that. I wanted to mention that we are also streaming a couple of days a week, usually on Twitch. Joe kind of mentioned it earlier. I've been playing some Zelda Ocarina of Time. But I've been playing other things, like we were playing some For Honor. I was playing some Darkest Dungeon recently. I didn't talk about in Timekillers, but played a little bit of that. Now playing a little Battlegrounds, so we would stream that too for sure. But yeah, you can go check us out over there. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank This Is Daleb for our amazing intro, outro music. And I want to thank the one and only, the greatest artist on the planet, Jorn Evers. Jorn, thank you so much. Jorn is one of my favorite people, and that's one of the reasons Critical Reviews exists today and in the forum today. He is the guy who does the art for the channel primarily. And if you want to get a commission done by him, you can find him over on Twitter. You can find him in the links below. And maybe if you're like, hey, I love this Jorn guy, I love Jimmy and Joe, I want to support the show, I want them to get better lights, better camera, better everything, so the quality can go up and the quality of everything they do can go up. How can I support that? All I have to do is go check out patreon.com/critical reviews, and you can see what you get at the various tiers, which a lot of that would be, some pretty cool stuff. Very cool stuff. And, speaking about these various Patreon tiers, at our highest tier of $100, you can even get your name mentioned on the show, which it just came to me that we didn't talk about that. So I want to take a moment to quickly salute our commander, Jonathan Larson. Thank you so much, sir. We salute you, don't we, sir?
Jonathan.
Yes, thank you. Very, very good. I'm sorry I forgot to do that. I usually do that before Timekillers. What was I thinking?
That's my thing, by the way. I don't say man. I say man.
Yeah, always bothers me.
A little on there.
Ask him to say the word sing sometimes, like sing.
No, I only do it with man.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. We really appreciate it. And we thank you to all of our patrons. But if you want to have your name read out in the show and a blurb like your battle cry, which Jonathan's is, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. A quote from Death from Darksiders 2. So thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you to Jorn. Thank you to Dale. Thank you to you, viewer, watching this. We really appreciate it. We'll be talking The Defenders next week, so go check that out on Netflix. It's only 8 episodes long, coming out this weekend, and I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on it. So please send us your thoughts if you've watched it or if you're interested. If you're not, tell us in the comments below or tweet at us anytime. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. And just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next time.